My fiance, male 33, and I, female 29, are getting married soon. So far, wedding planning has been going all right, except for a few things he and I argued about, like the venue and flower girl. Now we've been arguing about my wedding dress. This might sound cliche, but I've dreamed of having my own beautiful wedding dress ever since I was young. I can afford it, but my soon-to-be husband thinks it's not okay to waste a couple of thousands on a dress that I'm only going to wear once. Yes, he might have a point there, but for one, this is the typical price for wedding dresses, and two, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, why not make sure it's special? Soon-to-be husband still wasn't convinced and suggested I rent a dress instead of buying one, but then he started saying that I'm being irresponsible with money and brought up how much money I've already put aside to rent a face. He means makeup, and wear fake hair. He means extensions. Still, I have this vision of what I want to look like, so to speak, at my wedding, and I think it's my right as a bride. I purchased the dress, but a day later, I found out that it was missing from my closet. I freaked out, but he told me he returned it and got the money back. I was shocked. I asked him why he did that, and he said he thought the dress was ridiculously expensive and that it was wasting money, and again suggested I go rent one. I blew up and went off on him, which I've never done before. He literally took a few steps back and told me to calm down. I said he had no right. I'm paying for the damn dress. He got upset and said there's no "I'm paying for it myself" in marriage, and that my attitude is setting the tone for what type of dynamic we'll have in our marriage. He kept on saying I must expect him to pay for everything while I keep my money or spend it irresponsibly, but I never told him how to spend his money. I responded that he gets zero say in how I spend my money whatsoever. He told me that I should grow up and stop with the dream wedding dress cliche, then stormed off to call his mom, who chewed me out, saying she won't let me ruin her son's financial stability with how I dealt with money generally. She too urged me to rent a dress or buy a cheaper one, way cheaper than the one I picked, and move on. But I declined. And yes, he still has the money and said he'll give it back once we agree to a solution. So, am I the idiot? Holy smokes. He literally stole from you and then called his mom to tell you he was right? Time to cancel the wedding. Girl, run, you don't want this. Consider it a bullet dodged. Let me put this delicately. Things are not going all right with your wedding planning. You gave many examples of your soon-to-be husband not respecting you, belittling and undermining your wants for your wedding, controlling how you should spend your money, and running to mommy when he doesn't get his way. You're lucky you're not married yet. I suggest counseling to make sure you're compatible and will be happy spending your life with this pile of red flags. Agree. Not the idiot, but please hold, pause, and press the button. You need to look into some serious red flags more closely before you get married. I'm begging you, look into this more deeply. Do not sweep this under the rug. I know we're taught that marriage is the end-all and be-all for women, but please do not rush into past indicators that this marriage might be a pretty trap for you. This is a huge red flag and an indication of how future disagreements are going to go. I personally think wedding dresses and large weddings in general are a huge, huge waste of money. Of course, people are entitled to that opinion. However, you don't settle an argument by returning a wedding dress and then keeping the money hostage until the said person agrees. Marriage and finances are about finding common ground. Also, a grown man should not be crying to mommy to settle a dispute. Maybe the theme of the wedding is red flags. The bridesmaids will wear red, the groom will have a red suit, and the aisle will be lined with increasingly bright red flags until she reaches the altar, which is just a tent made of one giant red flag. I think she should call the cops on the man who stole several $1,000s from her instead of marrying him. But that's just me. I'm a single mother to a tween girl. We recently got moved from the UK to America by my company, and it has been quite an adjustment, but we're settling in well enough. She misses her friends and the family we left behind, but we Zoom regularly, and she's begun to make new friends. especially after I found her a new dojang to continue her taekwondo. All in all, everything was going fine except for one thing. Our next door neighbor is a stay-at-home mom to 3 girls, tween, pre-tween, and younger child. She's nosy and always poking around and trying to talk to us. I put this down to curiosity, plus perhaps I misread her intentions, as I'm still adjusting to how people can be here. The issue came, however, 3 days ago when she came round and I let her in for some coffee. She tried to convince me to sign my daughter up for some kind of preteen beauty pageant. I won't lie, I was shocked by this. I don't know anyone who does this kind of thing, and they seem disgusting to me. I didn't want to be rude, as all 3 of her girls do it, so I didn't share that thought, and instead I told her it wasn't my daughter's cup of tea, as she's a total tomboy and always wearing jeans and whatever gaming t-shirt she can find. My neighbor tooted at this and said she'd seen and commented on what a waste it was, as my daughter was so pretty, and I was letting her waste her potential with all those boy things. She even tried to suggest it was something our girls could bond over, and how she'd teach her how to walk and dress and do makeup for it, and how it would be so much more fun than fighting and getting bruises. I won't lie, I was getting angry at this and told her that my daughter was much too young for that kind of thing, and I wouldn't force her either, as I knew she'd have no interest. She tried to say we should ask her and that I shouldn't make this kind of choice on my own, and implied that with how busy I must be at work, it was normal that girly things would slip by me, and it's okay. At this point, I told her to get out of my house, mind your own business, and not dare question how I parent my daughter, bringing up I was polite enough not to say how disgusting I think it is that she makes her daughter do those kind of pageants. This led to a lot of gasping and shocked anger before she stormed out. I've had a little time to cool off since then, and maybe I snapped too easily. It's tough raising my daughter alone, and I didn't like the implication that I was failing her in some way. Plus, I know these shows are more common in America than the UK, so maybe I tripped over some cultural landmine. Since then, every time she sees my daughter and I, she gives us very dirty looks. Did I mess up here? Should I try to mend the rift I caused? Maybe I misread what she intended to be kind as an attack. Still not letting my daughter do pageants, though. Not the idiot. It sounds like she can't handle having girls veering from the traditional, uber-feminine path. Or one or more of her daughters was asking why they had to do those pageants, when other girls like your daughter don't have to, and why they couldn't do taekwondo like your daughter. Growing up, I was one of those dreaded girls who didn't wear pink, and holy God did the moms hate me for my non-compliance, because their daughters wanted to climb trees, play in the creek, and get dirty. This is so on point, so very on point. I know women like this, and they think they're saving your daughter. Unfortunately, they won't change their opinion, nor stop the relentlessly polite but rude suggestions. Sorry you moved in next door to a pageant mom. Pageant people are all insane. You did fine, and she was pretty rude to you. It would have been polite of her to drop it after your initial rejection. It was extremely rude to keep at it and insult your parenting in the process and in your own home. My husband, 26, and I, 23 female, are currently expecting our first baby in July and are very excited. Unfortunately, my brother and sister-in-law, both 38, have struggled to conceive for a long time and decided to give up and be pet parents. Ever since I got pregnant, my sister-in-law has been up my butt. She's always telling me what I should and shouldn't do, what I should and shouldn't wear, can and can't eat. I came home one day and she was going through my clothes and picking out the inappropriate clothes for a mom. She's also attempted to clean out my fridge of any non-safe foods and convince us to give up our cats for adoption because they could kill the baby. The big issue came to a head when I was at my mom's house the other day and she made me a vegan bologna sandwich. I don't eat meat, and when you're this pregnant, you try to satiate that craving as best you can. It was perfectly safe. Suddenly, my sister-in-law slapped the sandwich out of my hand and started screaming at me about how bad cold-cut lunch meats are while pregnant, asking if I was an idiot. I just looked at her and lost my temper. Just because she's infertile doesn't mean she's living vicariously through my pregnancy, and can control everything I do. She told me she was just looking out for her little niece and that I was a terrible person for saying that to her. My brother told me I know she's a lot to deal with, but I was out of line for saying that to her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Mentioning her infertility was a low blow, but she does need a reality check. It's not her pregnancy. It's not her baby, and she has no right to say anything about it. You set the boundaries, and if she doesn't respect them, she must deal with the consequences. I would honestly consider cutting ties with her completely for the duration of the pregnancy because there are red flags everywhere here, and her behavior could worsen. She crossed the line way back when she went through your closet. She's trying to live through you, which needs to be stopped now before the baby arrives and she gets even worse. OP, go ahead and drop the news that she doesn't get to be in the delivery room. Make sure you tell the labor and delivery nurses as well, so they'll have your back. Actually, please don't tell anyone you're in labor and at the hospital until it's done. She's acting borderline psychotic, so I try to make sure you document her crazy because she seems like the type of sister-in-law to try to steal your child and call CPS on you constantly to try to get them to give your baby to her. Tell your brother to check his wife, or they'll both be completely cut off from your family. She's unhinged, and that crap needs to stop now. Change your locks. Ban her from your home and don't let her anywhere near your birth or child. She has serious boundary issues and displays violent tendencies. I'd strongly suggest that she needs immediate help to deal with this. Your brother needs to get his wife help and tell her to back off. While you may have been harsh, she's not your keeper or doctor. Our daughter got sick while on vacation with her dad a few months ago, and now whenever she's upset, she wants a specific parent to comfort her, and it's impossible to get her to calm down if you're not the parent she wants. A few nights ago, she woke up at 2 a.m. after having a nightmare and wanted her dad. We're separated and don't live together, so I tried to calm her down myself first, but she was getting increasingly distressed. Eventually, I caved and called my ex to ask him if he could come over to comfort her. He came over and managed to get her back to sleep, but he didn't want to move in case he woke her up again because she was sleeping on him. He asked me to wake him up by 8, as he was supposed to be leaving for a vacation with his girlfriend a few hours later. I asked him not to go because I was worried our daughter would want him while he was away. After discussing it, he agreed not to. A few hours after he left, the girlfriend called me, upset. I had asked him to come over at 2 a.m., and because he canceled their vacation at the last minute because of me. She told me I was acting like a jealous ex-wife and accused me of using our daughter to control my ex, which isn't true. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Appeasing her at all cost is only hurting your daughter. You're not doing what's best for her. You're soothing her because it's convenient. If you want to help her, you need to address this and help her work through it. Use a therapist if need be. Ridiculous to ask him to put everything on hold because you want to take the convenient way out instead of parenting her. Great that he came over at 2 a.m., especially when he's trying to leave the next day. He was a very supportive co-parent and loving dad. Why is that not enough for you? Your daughter will have to be weaned off of this phase. If it occurs when he's not available, you'll have to deal with it. You know, like a parent yourself. You probably are jealous of the girlfriend. No way would a rational person ask this of someone. If you cared about and respected your ex and weren't jealous, you'd wake him in the morning and wish him a good trip. It might be difficult for the daughter to grasp that concept because the mother is jealous and obviously trying to sabotage the ex's new relationship. It wouldn't surprise me if the daughter consciously or subconsciously tries to pull a parent trap to get dad to stay with mom. My parents divorced when I was a baby. When my dad was single, he made sure we had stuff we did together. When I was 9, he met Kirsten and her 3 kids, who were younger than me. Once they started seriously dating, he stopped making an effort to do stuff just us. Once they moved in, I couldn't even get in a car with him for a drive, just the 2 of us. I asked for some us time. He would say we could have us time with the other kids included, or with everyone. I spent more time alone with Kirsten than I did with him, and that wasn't what I wanted. He spent a long time with each of her kids, doing stuff like driving them places or watching a game, just him and one of them, throwing a ball around. None of that extended to me for that one-on-one time, so I checked out while over there mostly, except for the times I would try to get some time with my dad. It was even more strange when they had two kids together because it was more people for him to be with. Of course, they get one-on-one time with him. I admit I resent Kirsten and the kids because he focuses more on them. He'll make time for them, but not for me. He's shown up to more of her kids' stuff than mine since he started dating her. Kirsten doesn't like how checked out I am. She told me before just to enjoy time with my family. I told her I didn't want them to be my family if it meant my dad had no time for me, but he never had that issue with them. She told me that could change if I moved in with them full time. I told her to buzz off and that I wouldn't leave my mom for someone who couldn't be bothered to make time for me. She said her kids all looked up to me and they deserved for me to treat them like siblings. I told her that she should have chosen a partner who didn't neglect his relationship with his kid in favor of hers. After that, I got into a ton of trouble. Kirsten and Dad told me to respect my mother at their house and told me I had no right to speak that way to anyone. A few months ago, I asked Dad if he would go laser tag with me since I had won 2 tickets. He said sure. Then he said he could buy tickets for the other kids. I told him to forget it and that I'd go with a friend. We fought. I stopped going to his house as much. Mom went to court to make it okay. They're planning their first family vacation for this summer, and they asked me to go with them. I've said no about 10 times now. They told me I should be with my family again, that I hardly ever see them now. I said it's how I prefer it. They said the kids had been excited about me being there and seeing me again, and now I would crush them. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Speaking as somebody from a family of divorce, what your dad did was wrong. You specifically asked to spend time with him, one-on-one, and he refused to do so. Adding to that, they said the kids had been excited about me being there and seeing me again, and now I was going to crush them? That's messed up. That's putting you in the middle, and it's completely unfair to you. I'm sorry you have to deal with this. Kirsten is an idiot too, but to a lesser extent. Instead of listening to what you said, in an attempt to understand where you're coming from, she got mad and punished you. But let's also be real here. There's a very, very good chance the main reason she wants you on that family vacation is so that you'll provide free babysitting for her gazillion other children. But don't forget the part where she wants you to move in with them full time on the off chance that your dad magically decides to change. That sure sounds like more free babysitting to me. You are not wrong. They're trying to override your valid decisions with manipulative tactics. Don't let them continue to do this. He's not offering more time with him. He's offering you time with children you have no desire to spend time with, which makes no sense.